Going right into the lesson, of course, we've been going into the times according to the Most High to make sure we have all our holy days appropriately. And we have it on paper. It will be sent out to all the elders beforehand so they can teach it to all the brothers and sisters throughout the four corners. And it will be uploaded to our new site. And the new site is being worked in from the background right now. And soon it will be released for all to see. All right, now. So when it comes to the new calendar, you don't have to worry about things. It's all in hand. But I wanted to go over a few things before I end this lesson today. All right, and we will talk about what the holy days will be this year. You can document them, and we can also go over some of the incorrections. I would say the incorrect study that's been going on with trying to calculate the times. We receive a plethora of letters from brothers and sisters all over the earth saying their days are off. They don't know how to calculate this day or that day because they're going into sources that are wrong. Okay, so my suggestion would be to stop your frustration, to slow up your frustration, is to wait until the sources are presented to you and study from a clear-cut basis of understanding that we'll provide. Therefore, you have the sources in place. You won't get frustrated and get tossed to and fro all over the place trying to find the correct calendar from these distorted sites that are out there. All right. So I wanted to make sure I put that out there for you brothers and sisters. All right. But beforehand, I said we would go into, and I said that last week, that we would go into a lesson that talks about the wilderness to some degree and that speaks of the attacks of what will be happening in the end times, of the spiritual attacks. See, the government powers that be, who are Satanists, they're straight out Satanists. They're not atheists. They're not agnostic. They're not a religion, which they call a religion. They're not what you would call righteously spiritual on any level. Okay, to get the term, if you are what you would call an atheist or agnostic, you are a Satanist. That's straight out. If you're a person who claims you don't believe in nothing at all, you are a Satanist. All right. There's only two sides to the coin. There's good and evil. The whole thing is that society have taught us not to take a side. They taught us that if you take a side, then you might offend others. Okay? With this politically correct agenda that's actually put in place to fudge the line so that you can walk the line, neither be either hot or cold. Just appear that you can associate yourself with everyone. That's the clear-cut deception Satan have put in this earth. All right? Those that are controlling the earth today are straight Satanists with the satanic agenda. There's no other way around it. We've been speaking about how they distorted the times. We're going to go into, all right? We're going to go into today why they are rolling out the agenda for the zombie apocalypse. All right. It's not because they fear zombies. It's not because some guy, the CIA and the government have paid to take some bath salts or some garbage they're claiming that they're rolling out on television, your talking heads, your teleprompter readers on the news. It have nothing to do with bath salts. It have nothing to do with a zombie apocalypse. Okay? It have nothing to do with anything. It have more so to do with they're preparing the world to deal with high-level demon possession. Okay? And, of course, the Satanists have to explain this off to society through science. Why? If you knew that what they call the zombie apocalypse was actually demon possession, you would try to search for a God or a Most High God to protect you during those times. So if you know it's demonic, then of course, by default, you know there must be a God. So they can't roll that out to you because your forces, if you link in with the Most High, is stronger than theirs. So they must make you believe that there are going to be some zombies walking around eating people all through the movies and all that. This is what they're promoting, knowing that when the spirits are released, and a lot of them have been released in the earth, when this happens, brothers and sisters, these demons will be using bodies as hosts to attack people like they've been doing now. I can give you a perfect example of a demon possession or you being attacked by spirits. And you might think it's a normal scenario. Let me give you an example of that. Let's go to Ephesians 6 and let's go to where Christ says, I send you out as serpents. I'll send you out as sheep among wolves real quick. We're going to go into some extra biblical text also. I'm handling this first before I go into the calendar and time for you. There is no such thing as a zombie apocalypse. What is the government preparing you for? Now, I'm not going to say a source. I know someone firsthand, like I've mentioned before, from the New York Police Department who received a memo that all the police force, your law enforcement, are preparing to kill zombies. Now, and even though this is far-fetched to you, and it might be out of here, concerning the regular society, looking at the Night of the Living Dead and all the other stuff they program you to accept or desensitized you to accept. I know someone on the police force received the memo and had the memo circulating amongst the police force in New York that they are to shoot, to kill, and go after the head first after the so-called guy ate someone in Florida, as they claim ate someone. It's so convenient that he ate someone while the cops sat there and filmed it. And then after it was done, after he ate the guy face, the camera's sitting there right on it, no one saying nothing, then the guy conveniently get killed by the police. Because a dead man tell no tales. So what were they setting up? They had the comedians come on and sit there and making jokes about it, bath salts, you got to watch out for this drug or that drug. No, those are sidebars. What they were showing you is someone who was influenced and attacked by spirits, which the Bible call demon possession. Now, it so happened that the government have ways of opening up you to receive these spirits through their drug programs, through their pharmacy, through their drugs that will make you a source for demon possession. Because only a demonic person or someone with a demon in them would look to eat another person live. All right. So what's going on in a nutshell, and I can have you know, is that they have demoralized the world, let loose the sodomites on the world, have turned everything upside down so that brothers and sisters would not know morality from immorality. Therefore, through sin, you're opening your vessel for demons. Spirits need hosts. So it's a systematic demon possession mechanism in place. Okay? What does the Bible tell us about this? Let's go to Ephesians, the 6th chapter.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12.
You're in Corinthians, right?
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12.
Go ahead.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
Our real fight is not with flesh and blood,
but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world.
Against the rulers of what?
Of the darkness of this world.
Of the darkness of this world. It's deeper than just some so-called Illuminati. These are just puppets for the demonic forces under Satan that are controlling all government officials of the earth. That's the real fight. That's the real battle. Read.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is deeper than a puppet president or a puppet senate or Congress who have sold their soul for position for a time. This is directly attributed. What you see in the earth is attributed to dark forces. And dark forces have no power. The only power they have is the power that the Son of God yields to them. Satan could not gain power of the earth until Adam fell. By the same token, Satan threw obstacles in our way, skew the line of morality to cause us to sin, and by default, these demons gain power and entry into the Lord's vessels to control them. Okay? So it's no coincidence the world we live in today. It's filled with demon possession. Read.
Verse 13. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High.
So the Most High said, well, hold up. In order for you to fight against this, you must gird yourself up. You must gird yourself up like someone in an army. If you know that someone is using certain bullets, then you put on a breastplate, or what they would call a bulletproof vest, to protect you from these bullets. Or a head plate, so that they don't hit your mind or destroy your mind. So that's on the physical part. They may see a weakness in your knees or in your shins and may go after your legs on the physical side. But let's talk about the spiritual side. Read.
Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High.
Read.
That ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand.
And having done all to stand. So in order to stand in the evil day, and we're in the evil day, you must put on the full armor. Now, Christians use this scripture all the time, and it's a great scripture in its proper context. But the point of the matter is that there is a chink in their armor. The chink in their armor, or the exposure part of their armor, is they've been taught that the law is evil and that breaking the law of God is good. You understand? So even though they're reading the scriptures, put on the armor of God, they believe that's praising God and going to church, which is, if you know, on the surface, it's not a bad thing to congregate with other believers to try to live moral. You understand? To congregate to fight against the forces of this world. There's nothing wrong with the concept of church, but church have been hijacked by Satan. Constantine, we talked about it in many of our lessons. Right? So they have a systematic mechanism in place through Christianity in which their armor is not protected because they are taught to break the law of God or excuse the law of God and use their misunderstanding of Paul to do so. When Christ says, think not that I've come to destroy the law or the prophets in Matthew 5:17, I come not to destroy but to fulfill. Not one jot or tittle in no wise will pass from the law until all be fulfilled. Now, have all been fulfilled yet? No, which means there's a law in this earth according to God that stands. Not according to man, what was written by God and given to his people, the children of Israel. Read on.
Verse 14. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth.
See that? The first thing you need with your armor against these spirits that will attack is truth. You cannot stand with the word of the Most High and claim that truth doesn't matter. Well, who cares who the Hebrews are? Well, who cares about this? Well, some say that Christ didn't even exist. Well, some say this or that. So if you entertain these lies, you know what you have? You have exposure in your armor. You've been exposed. So Satan only need a crack here. He don't need much. The first thing it tells us in the epistles to fight against these demonic forces, these demonic attacks, is truth. So if you're running around ignorant saying that things of the Bible doesn't matter, you have no truth. Therefore, you are an open vessel for what's to come. For spirits, because they're just looking for hosts. And you yield your spirit to them when you deny the living God, when you deny the Most High. You yield your spirit to these forces. And listen, they don't care if you're ignorant, these forces. They will use you as a host. They will use your body as a host nonetheless. Okay? Read.
This is the middle of verse 14.
Go ahead.
And having on the breastplate of righteousness.
Righteousness. Following the law of the Most High. To tell you the law of the Most High is his righteousness. That's the next part you need. Truth and righteousness. What's next?
Verse 15. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace.
So you must be prepared to bring the gospel of peace. Now, most people think this is the emotion of running around with flowers in your hand, giving out flowers. No. This peace it's speaking of here is the gospel of peace. What peace? The peace between the children of Israel and their God. When Israel broke the law, statutes, and commandments, when our people broke the law, statutes, and commandments of God, the Most High began war against us. In order for us to come out of that condition of servitude, which we were led into captivity based on the sins of our forefathers, in order for us to one day overcome that war that our God had against us, the Most High had to send a son of law, without blemish, made under the law, as a sacrifice for those who broke the law. And therefore, peace would come to these people when eventually they would get the seed, what you would call the promises of Abraham. That was the eventuality of these people. And that's what it means, the gospel of peace. I'm going to give you an example of this gospel of peace. See, and that's why the Romans and the Europeans wanted to kill Christ. They needed these slaves to build their empire. So when Christ came on the scene, was born, it was like, hey, go find him and kill him, because he's going to save these people. Okay? So you can't say you're teaching the gospel of peace and don't know who God's people are. A teacher doesn't matter who they are. The gospel of peace is Matthew the 10th chapter in the 5th and 6th verse. Let's read that real quick.
St. Matthew chapter 10 verse 5.
So you must have what? Truth, righteousness, and you must be ready to go forward. That's why I'd say your feet, which moves the body. You must be ready to go forward throughout this earth and bring forth the gospel of peace and let God's people know to come back to him. That the Most High no longer is at war with his people. That he afforded an opportunity to come back. Let's read it. Matthew 10, 5 and 6.
St. Matthew chapter 10 verse 5.
Read.
These 12 Yeshua sent forth,
12 disciples.
and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles.
Go not into the way of the Gentiles.
And into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not.
Go ahead.
But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
But I'd rather you go to my people. Read.
Of the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Go ahead.
And as ye preach, and as ye go, preach, saying,
Preach, saying,
the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
That's the gospel of peace. You're telling these same people who are in captive, the same people who were destroyed, that the kingdom is at hand. That the one who would bring the kingdom for them is now in the earth. Now, the Romans wasn't looking for Christ to come, okay? Neither was the other nations. Now, this is not saying the other nations cannot partake if they're willing to deal with the truth. But all in all, the gospel of peace must be taught to the people who are suffering the curses. So when they read Ephesians, the 6th chapter, these are all the things they ignore. Why? Because the Christian faith was set up by Jesuits and Satanists. The modern day Christianity is not the Christianity before Constantine. It's been infiltrated and hijacked. And the one black man that defended the truth was killed for standing for truth. But before he died, he put the experts together to give us this great record, the Bible, and his name is King James. He was the what you would call the original Protestant before the Protestant movement was hijacked by the same infiltrators. He was protesting against the Romans who were infiltrating the church and whitewashing all the images and looking to destroy our people in Europe. So that's the gospel of peace. Let's go back to Ephesians.
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 16.
Go ahead.
Above all, taking the shield of faith,
Taking the shield of faith.
wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked.
Go ahead. And see, you got to have faith to protect you from the fiery darts of the wicked. What's the fiery darts? That's what come out of people's mouth. Attacking you, making you feel bad about what you know according to the Bible, laughing at you, making up lies about you. These are all fiery darts. Now, fiery darts, like little darts, of course, they won't kill you. You okay? But if they come enough and they attack somebody spitting darts at you, right now, that's all you're caring about is, hold up, man, stop, you looking around trying to defend yourself from these darts. They're not killing you, but they're doing enough damage to distract you from the mission at hand. That's what fiery darts are. So they come out little, not because they're looking to destroy you. These are tactics of diversion that Satan would use. Fiery darts usually come from someone's mouths. They're attacks. So if you concentrate on those attacks, Satan have now won. If you let those attacks go, knowing that those attacks do nothing, if you ignore them, then you can stay on the path of finishing the mission. Okay? Because they don't always, as long as there's mouths, there will be people talking. So when people are bringing the fiery darts, you have to say, well, listen, okay. And some people ask, well, aren't you going to answer to some of the things? Why? I have to finish this. Because while that person is talking, the rewards are being given from someone else. That person ain't giving out rewards. So you have to let them talk, because what they say will condemn them. You understand? It's not what goeth into a man that defileth a man. It's talking about they didn't wash their hands, the disciples, when they went to eat bread. It's not the dirt on their hands that's going to defile them. It's what cometh out of their mouth. So you have to let people talk, because all in all, what they say will condemn them. So don't deal with the fiery darts of people attacking you and trying to destroy you, because that's part of the tactic Satan will use now that you have this knowledge. What's next?
Verse 17. And take the helmet of salvation.
The helmet of salvation. You must know that you will be saved. Now, in order to take the helmet of salvation, you must know what salvation is. I hear that all the time through Christianity. They're saying, well, listen, brother, I know y'all dealing with all this history and knowledge and all that, but that doesn't important. I'm not seeing no salvation here. Okay, well, let's give you some salvation. Let's go to St. John 4 and show them what, according to the Bible, they should be taking as more armor against the spirits and demons that might attack.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 4, verse 22.
Read it.
Ye worship, ye know not what.
Listen, Christ told this Samaritan woman who swore she was worshiping right. You worship, you know not what. Read.
We know what we worship.
Christ says, we, separating himself from this woman, we, the children of Israel, know what we worship. Read.
For salvation is of the Jews.
For salvation is what?
For salvation is of the Jews.
How can you be talking about salvation and then claim that it doesn't matter who the Jews and Israelites are? So that's another part of the armor you just don't have. You got to have the truth, and you have to understand that you can't run around looking to save everyone when you don't even know who God's people are. Even Paul said to the Jews first and the Gentiles, and we know that the people over in Israel today are not the Jews that were operating during Christ's time, in Paul's time. They're Khazars. They converted into Judaism. Man, what, about 1,000 years after Christ, they converted. Okay? So they weren't the Jews. They were the Romans before the conversion. Khazar, Caesar, same word, same meaning. All right? Kaiser, same word, same meaning. Keep on going.
This is back in the book of Ephesians,
Yes.
chapter 6, verse 17.
So you must have the faith with salvation. Your faith have to be in the salvation. You must now help the Israelites, help the Jews. Let them know the kingdom is at hand. That is, let me tell you, if you bless Israel, you shall be blessed. If you curse Israel, you shall be cursed. And I'm not talking about the Israel, the state of Israel, that's a proxy for the United States in the Middle East right now. I'm talking about the true people who are scattered and suffering throughout the four corners of the earth by the hands of the oppressors that set up the Khazars in Israel today, with Satan at their pinnacle. Christ says in Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Satan attempted to give Christ all the world, all the power in the earth, and Christ denied him and rebuked him. Why? Because it was Satan's power to give. So if Christ did not take the power, who have received it? The people who rule the earth today. What people are the children of Israel who need the gospel of peace? The people who are suffering under the hands of their oppressors, the satanic governments who are aimed towards destroying God's people. Read on.
This is the middle of verse 17. And the sword of the Spirit.
And the sword of the Spirit. We know what the sword is. You must be ready to use. You got it. The Bible. The Bible. And I'm perplexed. Even Christians, when you try to open up the Bible with them, they tell you, well, listen, why don't you stop reading that for a second? Close the book real quick. And want to start talking about something that's in the Bible. Without the sword, we're nothing. And if you are convinced that the Bible is old, it's passé, it's past its time, it's not relevant today because that was a different society, if that's the stance you're taking, then that's another tool you don't have to protect yourself from the spirits who will soon need a host. So you're going to need that Bible. And I'm not talking about your e-sword and the stuff you can find online. You don't become so dependent on that to when they pull back all their resources and pull back their technology, you don't have a book to read. We're talking about the Holy Bible, which will one day soon be deemed an act of terrorism for reading. Okay? Read on.
The middle of verse 17. And the word of the Spirit, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High.
The sword of the Spirit, which is what?
The word of the Most High.
Then we tell you what the sword is because it cuts. It cuts. Not just one way, both ways. It cuts the person you're reading it to, and it's cutting backwards too if you're reading it. Okay? You must have your sword. And you notice when things get out of hand and people are trying to argue whatever the case is, the first thing you hear a teacher say, read, let's read. The spirits flee when the word is read. You understand? So when you start reading, it cuts asunder, no matter what someone's opinion is. And this society have taught us to respect someone's opinion over the word of God. Who cares what someone's opinion is if it doesn't relate to what the Most High is speaking of? Your opinion means nothing if it's not in the vein of the Most High's word. But we are taught that you're ignorant if you don't accept someone's opinion. No. Philosophy is against the Most High. All right? As it is written. Now let's get into it. Going back to the original topic here. Before you get that, I need you to go into Matthew where Christ says, I send you out as sheep among wolves, in the same chapter.
This is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 10, verse
Chapter
16.
10. Go ahead.
Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves.
Christ says he send you forth as sheep among the wolves.
Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves.
Now you must be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Okay, you must be wise. Why? You must be wise because the whole world have set up a mechanism to point out those who have overcome the programming. It's certain things that if you know certain things, and they want to deem you what they call, this is the term they want to use, a conspiracy theorist. That only means you see their mess. Okay, that's all that means. And they're looking to minimize what you see because you may show others. Don't forget, brothers and sisters, you were born in a program, systematic program that was created by Satan and the Masonic structure. So understand this. When you do certain things to start awakening and breaking your programming, they have people in place that will attack you. That's good. They have people in place automatically. One second. They have a mechanism in place to point you out for destruction. A few things that will happen. Let me give you an example. If you know that holidays are wrong, automatically that's a red flag to them. If you start pointing out the truth about holidays and the fact that they're satanic, they'll all come together and say, we have one who can see. He's starting to wake up. Okay? If you begin to know the right cycle of the earth and that the fact that your Sabbaths were thrown off and start following righteously, they'll come together and say, we have a nut job. What they call a nut is someone who can see. And see, this is what they fear, because if you show others how to be right and follow the Most High, and that they have the tools and the armor to fight against those spirits, when the spirits look to attack, you will be protected and show others how to not only protect, but fight against the evil. So this is the threat. It's deeper than you just finding out you're Israel. It's way deeper than all these things you might imagine. The fact that you can protect yourself from everything they're doing is a weapon against them. Why? Because they can only do what the Most High allow them to do. There's rules. You have to yield yourself to them in order for them to attack or destroy you. There's rules. They just can't come after you and attack you and kill you and all that and do what they want to do to you. If the Most High have a hedge over you like Job, they can't touch you. And they understand that. So what they do is they set up an immoral society and make you think evil is good and good is evil. So that by default, you unconsciously follow the evil and yield your spirit to them. And now you're no longer under your hedge. You left your hedge. And now they can do what they would like to you. I'm going to give you an example of this. I'm reading out of the Studiopagrapha of the Old Testament today. And I'm going into the book of Jubilees. I'm going to go into a book of Jubilees today and a few other sources today to give you some understanding. And it flawlessly mesh with the Bible. Jubilees are books of Jubilees given to Moses. As we went into the scriptures a couple of weeks ago to show you, the Most High showed Moses more than the information you have received in the first 5 books of Moses. It tell you in the Apocrypha, in 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter, he told Moses to hide some things and other things to publish publicly. What you have in your Bible is the information the Most High told him to publish publicly. But there were records of the children of Israel that's in the earth today that the Christian church will never give you. And the book of Jubilees is one of them. With the book of Jubilees, you know the correct cycles according to the earth, and you can now destroy the lies they've established in throwing off the times. You can identify their lies and teach the truth according to the proper Sabbath and the proper times. But going into the book of Jubilees, he talks about what happened right after the flood, speaking of these spirits. Let's go chapter and verse.
This is the book of Jubilees, chapter 10, verse 1.
And I'm bringing this all around to letting you know it's deeper than some apocalyptic zombie attack garbage they bringing forth. I'm going to show you what they are preparing you, brothers and sisters, to see. See, no longer will the spirit world lay dormant in darkness. They will soon appear. They will soon present themselves to the population. They've already to some degree. That's why under the skull and bone, your Bush families and the Jewish powers and the Zionist powers have instituted chemistry, or what you would call, yes, can you bring that lemon in here? That lemon. The lemon. Just bring it in. All right? The point I was making is that they are preparing you for the darkness to come to the light and present itself. And like I said, the Bush families and the Zionists have been using pharmakeia or sorcery. Thank you. Have been using pharmakeia, or what you would call sorcery, through their drug program to prepare or to get the society all open for these spirits to attack. Certain drugs, certain things in your system that alters your behavior, which will allow these spirits to enter you. I'm talking about a mass demonic possession. And see, they got the fusion centers, the NSA, and all these things in the earth today, which are ran by Satan. Okay? They have them in the earth today. So that for those who can see, that don't want to participate in this demonic takeover, can be dealt with swiftly. And if you don't believe me, and I mean, it kind of blew my mind, but on your own time, the word Illuminati, go to Google one day and type in the word Illuminati backwards. Same way it is, but do it backwards.com. And the NSA of the American government, the United States government, will come up on your screen. The NSA. Type Illuminati backwards in the same words.com, and the NSA will come up on your computer. What is the NSA? The NSA is a grid that they set up throughout the whole earth for those that would spiritually oppose Satan in this earth in the last days. They set up their satellites, their grids, to watch the whole earth. So when they implement the mark of the beast, they can destroy all those spiritually who attempts or who opposes their satanic one world government. Okay? We're not wrestling with flesh and blood here. And the only way to explain this is our ancient records. What we're reading now. Okay? There's nothing else to explain it. They have many agents of misinformation out there that will give you a piece of the truth only to lead you down another trail that have nothing to do with why things are happening. Let's read chapter and verse in Jubilees.
Jubilees chapter 10 verse 1.
Go ahead.
And in the 3rd week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began...
Speak a little closer to that. I got you. Go ahead. I got you. Go ahead.
Jubilees chapter 10 verse 1.
Go ahead.
In the 3rd week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah.
So right after the flood, don't forget, for those who are in a class, and a class we had on Enoch to show you the origin of demons, happened after the giants or Nephilim fought each other. What they call the clash of the Titans in Greek mythology. There was no place in heaven or in the earth for these hybrid beings that came from angels and women. So therefore they had to roam the earth as demons. See, that's why the Most High destroyed the earth through the flood. If the flood didn't happen, these satanic animals, which are dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus rexes, and all these hybrid animals, and these giants would have destroyed God's people. So the Most High killed them through the flood, and their spirits became demons in the earth. There was an inordinate number of these demons throughout the earth that it says in Enoch would attack and do battle and would come against mankind. So right after the flood, these demons were still floating and operating in the earth. Read on.
And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his son's sons.
See that? So now the spirits began to attack the sons of Japheth, the sons of Ham, the sons of Shem. Noah's sons were now being attacked by these demons after the flood. Read.
And he prayed before the Most High his power, and said, God of the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me, and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has caused me to perish as thou didst, and has not caused me to perish as thou didst the sons of perdition.
Go ahead.
For thy grace has been great towards me.
Go ahead, you can say it because it's pretty loud. Go ahead.
And great has been thy mercy toward thy mercy to my soul.
Go ahead.
Let thy grace be lift up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them.
So now Noah is praying to the Most High God. He's praying that the Most High save his sons from these wicked spirits that are attacking them. Read.
Lest they should destroy them from the earth. Verse 4. But do thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And thou knowest how thy watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day.
Now the watchers are the fallen angels before the flood at the time of Enoch that came down on Mount Hermon, slept with women and bare giants, did cross splicing, GMO splicing, started destroying the Most High's creation, and began to make hybrid beings and eating and killing people. Man, and you notice how they have patterned society to accept this spirit of giants. It's all in your Disney movies and all in your animated movies. Your children shouldn't be looking at these things. They got one Jack and the Beanstalk. Come to find out, Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack and the Beanstalk with the beans and all that. That story actually came from Jonathan, who died, a friend of David who died fighting giants. The Jack links directly to Jonathan or Jonathan. Okay, and that's a whole nother story in itself. We've always been at war with these spirits. But now Noah is saying, remember the watchers. The watchers fell to earth, slept with women, and now they're bound in the desert Dudael. The greatest one of them all, Azazel, is bound under the great pyramid sphinx. He have another name, Osiris. The Egyptian Osiris is Azazel, and it's inscribed in the pyramid. And it's not ironic that when our people go to the pyramid, they don't even let us go down there. They block our people from actually going there to read the inscription, but the archaeologists and other races can go down there. Also, not that I would want to go there, let me make it clear. I know that the Great Pyramid of Sphinx is a doorway to hell, beyond any shadow of a doubt. Hermes in Greece, in Greek, who the so-called pagans worship, is Azazel. Now the watchers had a course, 200 of them, over the earth, in which they would circle the earth and watch man and minister to man for the Most High, which means they was put in position to help us, not to be a part of our downfall. Now once they lost their power and Azazel was bound, their children, which are the demons, gave the powers that be in this earth powers and riches to rule in this earth if they're willing to help release their fathers and help Satan get back into the stratosphere to fight against the Most High. So now they set up the NSA. They set up the grid in which instead of angels in those courses that fell before the flood, they put satellites, which are digital angels, to watch the people like the fallen angels did before their fall. That's what satellites are. They're operating outside the earth in the same course as the fallen angels that fell. Who gave them that course? The fallen angels. Who gave your so-called philosophers, who supposed to be great Greek philosophers, maps of how the space looked and what's out in space and all that? Who gave them that technology? Who gave them that understanding that it was there? The fallen angels. So now Noah is saying, you know, the watchers did this before the flood. Help me save my children from these fallen demons, from these fallen angels, from their children. Now, of course, the Christian church won't ever tell you this. Why? Because the Catholic Church worshiped these demons that fell. So they'll tell you that, no angels didn't fall. That never happened. That never happened. Those were the sons of Seth. Those were the sons of Seth dealing with the sons of Cain, daughters of Cain, and all this mess, which the Bible doesn't back. The only thing that explained demonic activity in the earth is what we're reading today. It's the only way to explain it. How can you say it didn't happen and not tell us where demons come from? They'll be like, well, hold up. Demons came from the 1/3 of the angels that fell. Well, no, those are angels. Demons are the offspring of angels. Do your research. Demons are the offspring of angels. The fallen angels are at the head, the pinnacle. That's why they call it alien or Alahayan or angel technology. And the demons are on a lower level as the children of the angels. Read on.
This is the middle of verse 5. These spirits which are living imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation.
In the place of condemnation. So Noah knew of the place of condemnation. So Noah asked the Most High to place these demons where their fathers were placed before the flood. Right? Read.
And let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant, my God. For these are malignant and are created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them.
He says, please do not let them rule over your creation, for you can do this dominion over them. That means what will happen is these demons will actually lead mankind to follow their fathers and the fallen angels, and Satan, which is the chief fallen angel, opposed to the Most High. That's the battle for souls in this earth. That's the greatest battle between good and evil. Read.
And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous,
Go ahead.
from henceforth and forevermore. And the Most High our power bade us to bind all. And the chief of from henceforth, and the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord Creator, let some of them remain before me.
So here's another name for Satan, who came before the throne and say, let some of them be under me. Now this is before Christ came, so Satan had entrance into the heavenly throne to accuse the brethren. So Satan comes before the Most High and say, please don't follow Noah's prayer to bind all the spirits. Can you leave some for me? Read.
And let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them.
Go ahead.
For if some of them are not left to me,
He says, if some of them are not left under Satan, read,
I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men.
he cannot do his part on the sons of men. Why? Because Adam fell. So Satan gained power for a time. So he says, listen, I'm not going to be able to exercise the power that I have in this earth for the short time I have if you bind all the demons according to Noah's prayer. Read.
For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him.
The Most High says, you know what? We will leave 10% of the demons on the earth. Read.
And let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation.
90% of the demons after the flood were bound with their fathers. So the majority of what you see in the Old Testament when evil abound was only 10% of the demons that were left after the flood. Now, some people might ask, how can such a small number of demons overcome mankind and destroy all civilization? See, they don't need to just attack everyone. They just need to influence government. You understand? They just needed to put in a grid in place in which they would control the leaders of the people and let the leaders cause the people to go astray. See that? So at that time, it was only 10%, right? That the Most High said, well, listen, Satan have to do his will because of the fall of Adam. So therefore, I'm going to let him have 10% of these demons to exercise Satan's will in the earth until their final judgment. Don't forget the demon came before Christ when Christ was casting out that demon. And he says, listen, have you come to torment me before our time? Because they know how much time they have before their judgment on the earth that was allotted them by the Father after the flood. So he says, have you come to torment me before thy time? Then Christ, well, okay. He cast them into the swine. And you know, the swine ran into the waters. Now we know why that happened. The demons led them into the water so that they can release themselves after the pigs died, and then they can find another host. You seen the movie Fallen? If you haven't, by Denzel Washington, look at it. It's absolutely true. Demons look for people for hosts, but they can use animals temporarily. Okay? Read on.
And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines. For he knew that he would not walk in uprightness nor strive in righteousness. And we did according to all his words.
Read that last part again about teaching Noah.
Let the 10th part of them remain before him,
Let the 10th part remain before him.
and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation.
So 90% of the demons were bound in hell. Hell exists. It's Hades. And see, this is no new knowledge. The Christian church have been teaching this for real, and it's correct. Okay, spirits are eternal. So when you leave your body, just because you're not operating in this dimension doesn't mean that you don't go someplace else and operate. The same as when you're asleep. Your spirit is operating. Your mind is working. You are operating in dreams. It's just that you're operating in a different dimension. So because we're from the image of the living God, we are a part of him, and the Most High cannot destroy himself. The essence of which we are created from cannot be destroyed. He had to make a place for refuge, or what you would call purgatory. Because the spirit is eternal. These are just earth suits we live in. But what looks from behind these eyes is the spirit. It was someplace before we came here, and it goes a place after we leave. And see, it's deep that we have to teach this, because even in ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, all their burials were to prepare them to live in the underworld. So when people are getting attacked and going through all these different scenarios that they talk about in hell and all that you read about, that's because of 90% of the demons that were bound there that are looking to be released. Now it's starting to come to you about the so-called zombie apocalypse. They know that these spirits will soon be released in the earth. A lot of them have been released. They're not going into the pyramids, into the archaeological sites to look for rocks and to find out how old a rock is. Are you kidding me? Okay? This is what Noah and his sons were dealing with before 90% of them were bound. It was uncontrollable. The people were losing their minds. And Noah went to pray before the Father. Now you would think, because this came from Oxford University. This book, brother, of our records, brothers and sisters, is in Oxford University. Do you think this information would benefit society if they knew about this? Why did they hide it from you? Read on.
This is the middle of verse 10. And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness. And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation.
So 90% of the demons were bound after the flood. Read.
And a 10th part of them we left, that they might be subject before Satan on the earth. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with the herbs of the earth.
So the angels taught Noah how to heal his children from the diseases that came from the demons. So the demons brought forth diseases, or made hybrid diseases to attack mankind, to show you diseases is a demon also. And the angels taught Noah what herbs to use to heal heal his children from what these demons were executing. You mean to tell me that this is not pertinent information? The CDC, which is the creation of diseases, the center of disease creation, they are operating from demons. You don't shoot people with vaccines and germs on purpose so that they can build an immunity to it. What type of madness is that? I'm already immune to it if I don't have it. So how can I allow you to shoot a disease in me? This is demonic attacks against our mind. It attacks your neural sense. And through that, dumb you down and open you for demons. See that? The only way to attack against this is the herbs. Okay? We got a sister Bev who's going to be doing the herbs. with our church. We got Truman Burst, who help our church and heal with herbs. And you know that the government is coming against everyone who looked for herbs to heal themselves. Why? Because that's an actual battle against demons. That's a battle against disease. They break you down and then use you for hosts, waste you, you die, then they find others. So this to have nothing to do about the light of the living dead or somebody biting you and you becoming a zombie. It have everything to do with demonic attacks. And it's through their pharmaceuticals, it's through their diseases. No one should go to a hospital or a doctor unless it's something chronic. Unless you've been shot or stabbed or you got a broken bone. Okay? You should not go for a checkup. Okay? Doesn't make no sense. Why are you going for a checkup? Oh, well, something may be wrong. Are you kidding me? Do you know that the pharmaceuticals and doctors are in business to make money? They're going to always find something wrong. Or they'll just lie to you to have you come back for more tests, and then they'll just operate on you because that'll be $50,000 to $75,000. They'll tell you they see something. You don't know what x-ray you're really looking at. Okay? So unless something is really going on, if you're eating healthy, staying away from aspartame, diet, sodas, and all of those stuff, and you're drinking natural and eating natural, you don't even need them at all. Because that is a source, that is a main hub Satan used to get to the people, to spread their diseases, and to engage us through spiritual warfare and open us up for demons. Okay? Finish reading.
This is the middle of verse 13. And Noah wrote down all things in a book,
And Noah wrote it down in a book.
as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine.
Go ahead.
Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah.
And then they couldn't hurt us anymore. Disease is a weapon, brothers and sisters. And let me tell you, and I say it all the time, brothers and sisters. Since a lot of brothers and sisters left, and they'll tell you, brothers and sisters don't even get colds. They don't even know what a cold is. A lot of them. It's systematic. They're letting diseases loose on subways, in public areas, through vents. They are actually getting the people sick. Purposely. Through your vents, when you're in malls and you in populated places, you may be looking at a movie, whatever. They'll just let something go right into the vents and just have you take a disease home with you. This is how they've been operating. Subway stations, bus stations, this is how they've been operating. This is how they break us down. But I'm going into another area, but every time I go here, I cannot help but think about the pharmaceutical destruction against our people and the vaccine death program to kill and destroy us. Read on.
The middle of verse 14. And he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son.
So Shem received it, and you know that Shem eventually gave it to Abram. Shem, another name for Shem is Melchizedek. After the flood, after Noah died, Shem became king and priest. He's Melchizedek. And I can prove it. Read.
For he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers and was buried. And on Mount Lubar.
That's all we need. That's all the part I want to show them, that 90% of the spirits were bound. So now we're at a time in which they're going into these different pyramids and going into these different areas and are releasing spirits. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Give me one moment and we're going to go into part 2 of the truth concerning the so-called zombie apocalypse.